Well, for a more detailed look at the critical components of those tax reform bills submitted to the National Assembly by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm now being joined by Taiwo Oyedele, who is Chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms. Good to have you, Mr. Oyedele, on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you.
Let's start with that. Well, look, before you joined me, I had Alhaji Buba Galadima on the show, and he was touching on the political side of the conversation about the revenue reform bills that your committee prepared. He made a number of allegations. On the political plane, he said, look, Northern leaders, elders, and everybody else, he chided me and said I should not keep using the word Northern. I should just say people are opposed to the bills. He also made the allegation that your committee didn't agree on those reform bills. That, in fact, it was something that was done through the back door, some kind of underhand tactics, and you just deceived Nigerians. And that there are members of that committee who have gone behind to say that they were not part of it. Are you guilty as charged? Did you give to the president something that was done under the table?
Thank you very much, Dr. Abati. I watched part of the interview with the elder statesman, and I was concerned, actually, not only because of the allegations, but also the way he concluded. So first, you had some assumptions, you had allegations, and then you concluded. I thought that was quite unfair for the level of work we've put into this national assignment. So I'll tell you what we did. So the committee was set up on the 8th of August, 2023. And at a point, we had over 120 members from all the geopolitical zones. We have more than 20 government institutions represented. We have the private sector, whether it's manufacturers, whether it's women in business. We have 45 students from 22 universities across Nigeria. In addition to that, we had extensive engagement with the governors. I went to the governors forum. We wrote and wanted to meet with 6 governors, one from each of the 6 geopolitical zones. Until today, up until this moment, it's only the governor of Lagos State we were able to see. The other governor who was willing to welcome us was governor of Kaduna State. And then after all the logistics, we agreed the dates. On that day, he wasn't able to attend. It was the deputy governor that hosted us. I would not name the other governors, but I can actually if I need to. They didn't have time for us. The governors forum themselves invited us 4 times and cancelled 4 times. The 5th time, we were kept waiting till 1:30 a.m., middle of the night. By the time they had time for us, they said we had 15 minutes. And I said, Your Excellencies, we have a lot to talk about. They said, tell us how our revenues will go up. Even that we couldn't say in 15 minutes. We had half a day engagement with the finance commissioners from across Nigeria. We've had more than 4 engagements with the head of the Internal Revenue Service from all over Nigeria. We've had engagement with different groups, more than 40 sectors, from manufacturers to SMEs to fintech, and these things are published. So the way the committee was set up, because we had a lot of work to do, ideally the work we're given to do should take us about 4 years. But we knew that, number one, Nigeria does not have that luxury of time because we need to relieve the pain very quickly. And number 2, set Nigeria on the right path to development. The other important factor is a government is for 4 years. And you know this more than I do, Dr. Abati. If you don't get things done in the first 2.5 years, the rest of it is politicking. So what we did was, we said the only way we can get this job done is to break out into work groups. So we had 5 subcommittees. People were meeting every single day. There was a subcommittee meeting, sometimes till very late. Once every month, we come together physically and we all meet. And when we're done with the work of the subcommittees, we continue with only plenary. Every single subcommittee came and presented everything line by line, and they were debated. On a few issues, less than 5, we even voted. There was no one, that's not me, that's not who I am. Why on earth would I do such a thing? To ignore the report of committees and then write my own? Nothing like that happened. And so it's unfortunate that he claimed that some members of our committee did that. And I'm sure he can't mention their names because there's nobody, unless on their own they just made up the story. Nothing like that happened. So that's the, in summary, the composition of the team and the way we try to engage. We had a 2-day retreat with the Senate. Almost every member of the Senate was in attendance. We had one with the House of Rep. It wasn't up to 2 days, a few hours. So now that the other important thing is the VAT distribution. So it seems to me like the more we explain it, the more people try not to understand it. Because a lot of people don't even understand the current position of the law. So they don't understand there's a problem we are trying to fix. They're using the problem we identified and told the world about and trying to fix. They're using that problem to blame us. It's almost like a complete opposite of what we're trying to do. Let me quickly explain what the problem is. The value-added tax was introduced in 1993 by the military. Implementation started in 1994. And that was to replace the sales tax that was being done by states before that time. It was introduced in 1986. Now, sales tax is a state tax. So VAT is equally a state tax. But the committee that was set up was headed by the late Ijewere, recommended that for VAT to be successful, the collection should be centralized. That's just the collection. Now, it was a lot more successful than sales tax. In 1999, when we got into the Fourth Republic, we needed a constitution. The people that went and put the constitution together pretty much replicated 1979. In 1979, there wasn't VAT. So in 1999, when they introduced the constitution, VAT was missing. But the government continued to collect VAT. Now, some states like Rivers State and Lagos State are in court saying that VAT should be collected by states because they feel that they are not getting enough for the contribution they are making into the VAT pot, and therefore, if they collect it as a state tax, they'll be better off. That is the equivalent of 100% derivation. For us, as we're working on these tax reforms, we said if we get states to start collecting VAT in Nigeria, it will be chaotic for business. Because we know for a fact that states in Nigeria will not respect input-output. They don't give you credit. You buy something in Kano, you bring it to Kaduna or to Lagos, good luck. So we said, how can we make everybody at least comfortable and then address the inequity? What did we identify? As of today, when companies remit their VAT, they tend to remit from their head office because that's where they have the finance department. So MTN, BUA, Dangote, Airtel, all the banks, most of them are headquartered in Lagos. Some of the oil companies are headquartered in Rivers State. By the way, the information you gave about Ogun State is totally wrong. Ogun State is not benefiting from anything.
No, he's saying that
yes,
it was the governor of Ogun State, the governor of Rivers State that colluded with you to impose this
yeah, so that is so unfortunate. Yeah, so unfortunate and so unfair.
So you say Ogun State is innocent.
And it's so unfair to those people that you mentioned.
Ogun State.
Even Lagos State is innocent. This is not the idea. Even Mr. President is innocent. This is just our committee's debate. And what problem are we trying to solve? So as of today, as we speak, so I said to you that there's no VAT in the Constitution. So the VAT law that we have today has how VAT should be shared. And that's in recognition that this VAT is not a federation account revenue. It is the state revenue that is being collected centrally. So by law, the Value Added Tax Act has a formula for sharing it. And it says 20% based on derivation. The rest of it is based on equality and population. We decided in this reform that we cannot continue with old tax laws. Some of them are older than Nigeria's independence. We said, let's repeal all those laws and reenact new ones. So which means the VAT law would go. A new VAT will be enacted. In this new VAT bill, if we don't put the sharing formula there will be no sharing formula for VAT because that's the only place where it is. It's not like we love to do sharing formula. Then we said in the process, why don't we correct two things? Number one, when those companies remit their VAT, all of it is credited to Lagos as VAT derived from Lagos. We said that is wrong. Let's do the derivation properly. It should not be where the VAT is remitted. It should be the place where the consumption took place. So which means for MTN, they will tell us consumption in Kano, in Jigawa, in Kwara, in Ekiti. The banks will tell us, even though their head offices are in Lagos, they'll tell you where the branches and the customers are based. Dangote will tell you where they sent the cement to. If you do that, you don't need to ask for any data. The biggest loser will be Lagos State because you are changing what is benefiting Lagos today to benefit everyone else. That's number one. So correct the lopsided attribution of VAT so that it goes to the state of consumption. We then said number two, once this correction has been done, let every state keep 60% of what they generate. To be honest, we were so proud of ourselves, like we're going to be commended by everyone, and we thought we were only going to have an issue with Lagos State, explaining to them why their revenue has to go down from VAT.
There's been some mismessaging.
Yes.
During the presidential media chat, the president said, oh, there's no going back on these tax reform bills. We can't sustain a colonial template. But the same president now, the media is saying, is sending emissaries to, governors in the northern part of the country to talk to them. Isn't that mismessaging?
I think,
what is he sending emissaries for? If the thing is as clear and as straightforward as you have made it.
I watched the media chat, which you even moderated. So there were two comments that Mr. President made. His first point is that we have to do tax reforms. We cannot continue with the laws of colonial era and hope that Nigeria will become a developed country. This tax system is holding us back. He said that. Then after a few other questions, someone asked the question again about whether he's willing to move and make compromises. And he said yes. So his point is we have to carry out tax reform. That is what is not negotiable. Otherwise, that would be missing out on a significant opportunity to move Nigeria forward. But in terms of the details of those bills, everything is off for debate. In fact, I can tell you as we speak today, if they want us to keep the current VAT formula, we will keep it 100%. So the fact that people keep using the problem we are trying to solve against us is what I don't understand. We are saying today, Lagos State is getting the benefit for calls made in Kano, in Kwara, in Ekiti. And we say, let's change that. And then you come out and say, they want to take what we are doing in Kano to Lagos. But that's what is happening today. We are trying to solve a problem. Mr. President is willing to discuss and negotiate. What Mr. President doesn't want is to say we cannot do tax reform anymore. By the way, we have 4 bills. All the issues and the controversy is in one bill. That one bill has more than 100 provisions. What they are disagreeing with is about 1 or 2. How on earth would the solution to disagreeing with 2 sections of the law be to withdraw 4 bills that are transformative? Why don't we discuss those things and then present it to the lawmakers, and then they will make a call as to what the final position should be? So sometimes it appears as if people are using this as a proxy fight to do something else. Otherwise, the problem they identified and the solution that they prefer are totally at variance.
Okay, now there will be a public hearing. Northern governors, despite Alhaji Galadima's objection to the use of the phrase northern, are saying that the bill should be withdrawn to allow for wider consultation. Now, you said you met only with Deputy Governor of Kaduna State. You met with the Governor of Lagos State. Do you think it would be a good idea to withdraw the bills, and then maybe these governors who didn't want to meet you before, the Governors Forum that did not want to meet you before, maybe now they will make themselves available, and then you can have the consultations along with the public hearings, and maybe that will bring some ray of light.
Yes, immediately, so I was at the NEC meeting when they said the bill should be withdrawn. because they were just building on what the northern governors and the traditional rulers had said. Without going into the details, I'll tell you easily that what happened at NEC was just politics. So once they said the president should withdraw it, Mr. President's reaction was based on the fact that, number one, you're trying to advise me. Why do you need to go to the press, right? You're not advising Nigerians. Mr. President sent a bill, and you're saying withdraw the bill. Why don't you go and tell Mr. President? Number two, Mr. President's view is the issue you've identified, we can fix it in 5 minutes. Why is the solution to that withdrawing the bill? And his view is let the bill continue while we discuss. You know, there is no timeline for a bill that gets to the National Assembly for when it must come out, right? We can decide that these bills must be there for another 6 months. Whatever you wanted us to do by withdrawing the bill, we can also do it now while the bill is still in process. We spent 20 years doing Petroleum Industry Act. Right? That's not a good template to follow, by the way. So I do not see the problem that withdrawing the bill will solve. My worry, personally, and I'm not speaking for the president, is that if you withdraw the bills and you want to have this consultation, the consultation will still be frustrated, and you will not have the opportunity to return these bills to the National Assembly in the life of these governments. And I say that because look at the Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Allocation Commission. They have been trying to consult on a new formula for sharing federation account since 2013, 11 years. They've been everywhere. So consultation is good. We want to consult. But you have to get to a point where you draw a line and you say, let's move forward. And while we're moving forward, the opportunity to engage continues. In fact, if the laws are enacted today, we will continue to engage because we truly want this to be something that benefits Nigerians. Even from the implementation point of view, we want to get the feedback from everyone. So the Governors Forum were not unwilling to speak to us because of this controversy. All these happened even before this controversy happened. In fact, when the president set up our committee, the first place we went was NEC. When we got to NEC, we had a prayer that says, we were set up by Mr. President, but we realized that for our work to be effective, we need your support. Kindly adopt us as your committee. It was one of our prayers to NEC that they approved. So because our approach was actually that we're working for them. And if you look at a lot of the provisions of the bills, it's empowering the states significantly. In fact, Mr. President used a word when I met him recently. I was trying to make some comments about FCT and using local government as the model for how to do proper tax harmonization and stop taxing everything that moves. And he said, I hope you're not asking me to shed more weight. Because the federal government has given a lot. There's 5% VAT out of 15, that's 1/3 that the federal government will give to subnational. Number two, there's electronic money transfer. 100% is now going to go to states. There's stamp duties. There's taxation of government bond that states don't benefit today. We've included it there, the same benefit as federal government, and I can go on and on.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Oyedele,
ordinarily,
are you saying
yes,
that the president is right in saying there is no going back with these tax reform bills? Because the president used the word, there is no going back.
I agree,
is that what you are saying?
I agree with the president if he says there is no going back about the tax reform. I also agree with him on his follow-up comment that says we are willing to discuss. So the whole idea of not doing the reform itself is going to be a missed opportunity. We've not, in my adult time in Nigeria, have a president that you can, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, that you can sit with in 10 to 15 minutes and he gets it. That is this president. So these are not easy questions or issues to discuss. So he understands it. He's fully supportive, and if you don't have that support from the very top, you can imagine if the president was not 100% supportive.
Well,
These bills would have been...
The president may get it, but not our elders, statesmen, governors, and even maybe some people in the South, they are saying they don't get it.
Yes,
it can't just be about the president getting it.
Yes, we continue to explain.
We all must get it.
Dr. Abati, I'll tell you that we had an interesting meeting with the ulamas. I don't know whether they are the clerics mostly from the north. There were over 120. We had to explain everything to them. And many of them, when we were done, they were praying for the work we had done because there was a lot of misinformation previously. We had meetings also with some section of the North. I was with the League of Northern Democrats. So like if they call me today, most times I get less than 24 hours notice. I have to fly around to go to different places. So we are happy to discuss. We are willing to discuss. They just need to call us, and when we request, they should allow us explain. We are not even trying, by the way, we're not even trying to convince people about our bills. We're only just trying to explain. Our view is that once the stakeholders understand whatever they want us to do, we will do. Like the VAT, we are giving reduction and 0% VAT on 82% of consumption so that the ordinary Nigerian can breathe. Then food, yes. There's food, there's health, there's education.
Health, rent.
Yes, rent.
Yeah, that should make tenants happy.
Yes. Transportation, all of that, we're taking away the VAT. And then we saw the revenue from VAT would drop by 60%. So we said, okay, on the non-essentials, let's adjust it upwards a little bit. Because this VAT, we should remember, is a tax of the state. 90% of it will go to subnational. What I've been saying is, the moment we sit down with the governors, either under NGF or NEC, and they say, leave the VAT rate at 7.5%, we'll be more than happy to leave it at 7.5% because it's their call. But if they haven't given us the approval to reduce the VAT rate on those 18% of consumption, given that we believe reducing it on 82% of consumption is important, then the rest of it is about the stakeholders giving us the go-ahead on what to do.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. And once again, Happy New Year.
Thank you
The
very
conversation
much,
continues. It's about Nigeria at the end of the day. We take a short break right now on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.